Hi, I'm Judy Litt. Welcome to your Spring Equinox practice. I am so excited for spring. I'm not filming this in spring. And go ahead, while I'm talking to you a little bit about this practice, go ahead and bring the soles of your feet together. Let your knees fall open. You don't really need any props for this practice, although if this makes your knees uncomfortable, you can always put a roll up blanket underneath. You can put a block underneath. So we're starting out in butterfly. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what to expect. This is about probably roughly a 30-minute Yin Yoga practice, and we're going to be practicing at the wall. That's really the only prop that you do need. If you don't have a wall available to you, and I get it, we don't have a lot of walls free in my house, you can do this practice. I will try and talk you through what you can do on the mat instead of being at the wall. I'm not going to demo the variations, but it can be done as well. This practice focuses on the wood element, and as you're sitting in butterfly, let your head be very heavy, let it point down towards the floor, not forcing it. So we're focusing on the wood element. The wood element is all about spring. It is all about expanding. It's about growing. It is about strong roots to keep you grounded so that you can be flexible and just go back and forth, sway back and forth in the wind without falling over, right? In our physical body, we are going to be concentrating on our outer hips, our IT band, our inner thighs, and let me look at my notes. Oh yes, our side body and our rib cage. And I think I've pretty much already talked about what energetically in our subtle body we're concentrating on. Okay, so if you're in butterfly, go ahead and put your hands underneath your knees, bring your legs together. Now, before we get deeper into our practice, I suggest you have your mat perpendicular to the wall. So the opposite of what I have, going back this way from the wall. It's hard for me to demo this class. If I do that, that's why my mat is parallel. And you can always take a yoga blanket like I have in front of my mat to help pad things out. And of course you can follow along just like this with me if you like, but having your mat perpendicular is actually the way to go. And I'm also a little short on space here. Okay, so let's go ahead. Hopefully I'm going to remember these poses. You might see me glancing at a whiteboard now and again. Bring your hips all the way over to the wall. Go ahead and begin to come on down as you swing your legs up. And actually for this first move, you need to be just a little bit away from the wall. And take your right leg, cross it over the left. Loosely flex that foot. And if that is too strong a sensation for you, you can always just let that foot flop down. That's fine. You'll notice that when you flex that foot, you can get more of a sensation here on your IT band. Last week I had a video for Hatha Yoga for your IT band. And this week it's Yin Yoga, and we're welcoming in spring. So this is Sleeping Swan at the wall. Great for your IT band. Also very, very safe. It also could be called Sleeping Pigeon at the wall. Pigeon is more a Hatha Yoga name. Swan is the Yin Yoga name. So pigeon, many yoga goers are familiar with pigeon. It's a great pose. I love pigeon, but it can be really hard on the body as well. Okay, let's go ahead and switch sides. Let's take your right foot to the wall, take your left foot over the right thigh, and you want your leg a little bit below your knee, not right on top of your knee. And just breathe in here. I do like practicing Yin Yoga at the wall. It works with gravity, which is one of the things that Yin Yoga does so well, using time and gravity. But it makes it a bit more accessible as long as you can get to the wall, which can be a little tricky, but with practice, you can do that, I promise. But it allows you, it's kind of like using blocks in your yoga practice. It allows you to relax into the wall. And in Yin Yoga, we also want to be very relaxed. We're not contracting muscles because we're not trying to strengthen muscles. We're trying to strengthen our connective tissue. And therefore, we don't want to contract muscles. We don't want to be warm. This is a great practice to welcome spring in the morning. It is ultimately going to be relaxing and energizing at the same time. Let that go and begin to wiggle yourself closer to the wall if you're using the wall. Excuse the visual. It's not the most graceful thing in the world. Take your legs off the wall. Go ahead and bend your right leg. Put that bent right knee over the left knee, and then take that left leg and you're bringing your feet down around your hips and letting the feet really relax into the wall. This is shoelace pose, and we once again getting into those outer hips. Now you can do this sitting up on your mat. So you'd be sitting up, crossing, putting one bent knee over the other bent knee, and your feet would be wherever feels most comfortable for you. If you can get them in close to your hips, that can be nice. If they don't come in close to the hips, that's perfectly fine. So this can be done sitting on your mat. You're going to have a lot more sensation if you're doing it sitting on your mat, most likely, and I do like that. But it's nice to change things up, and it's nice to have the support of the wall. And as long as you can get up to the wall, I think doing Yin Yoga at the wall can make it more accessible to a lot of people. Think about having your neck nice and long, chin is just slightly tucked. Think about growing your tree trunk long. That's what we're always thinking about in yoga. And then go ahead and straighten the top leg. And then unbend the bottom leg. And we're just going to take a little break and legs up the wall, which is exactly like what it sounds. If you're on your mat, you can lay back on the mat and just take your legs up into the air. Same shape, does the same job. And then go ahead and bend the left knee, take it over the right knee, bend the right knee, bring those feet in towards the wall, towards your hips and onto the wall. Bottom leg is on the wall, and just relax. Notice anywhere that you're gripping. And try and relax that. Soften it, maybe 10% more. Send your breath to that area. You can even take your hand to the area if you like. If you're gripping down here along your outer thighs, let that go. Spring is all about rebirth, creation. And I'd like you to think about, while you're in these poses, in these shapes, what is it you would like to birth this season? What would you like to create? And then go ahead and straighten out your top leg and then the bottom leg, and just bring your legs up the wall for a short amount of time. Or if you're on your mat, you're laying on your back and your feet are flexing and not pointing, but flexing towards the ceiling. They're just flexing. This allows all the fluids that accumulate in your lower legs to flow back towards the heart. So if you travel and your legs are really tired or they swell, this is an absolutely wonderful pose. It's also great after hard exercise at the end of the day. Very grounding. Like I said, we're going to get grounded and we're going to get a little energized as well. Now begin to open up your legs. They're still straight, they're still on the wall. Just begin to let them fall to either side. It's a straddle pose. I personally find that this pose at the wall allows me to open up more. It's not quite as accessible for me on my mat. You know, you will see a lot of yoga teachers posting photos of themselves where their legs are completely, stretched out side to side. They're not up at an angle like mine are, right? And that looks beautiful and it may feel great in their body, but the truth is, for a lot of us, that is simply not accessible, even perhaps with much practice. And I would also argue, is it really necessary? Is this a shape our body needs to be in? Is it a shape that is kind to our body? These are always things to think about during your yoga practice. What are you opening up to this spring? And if you find, as we relax in this pose, that your legs want to widen out a little bit more, that is perfectly fine. We usually like to come to stillness, but once we find our edge and we let gravity and time do its magic, we may find ourselves opening up a little bit more. This is one of those poses, sorry I'm talking so much. This is one of those poses I absolutely do not recommend doing when you're very warm. Not for Yin Yoga, not for the longer hold. It would be very easy to injure yourself, to open yourself up too much and injure yourself. So this is best done cold in Yin Yoga. Go ahead and take your hands underneath your thighs and slowly begin to push your legs back up so they are back up the wall. And we're going to take a short break here. Notice if you're gripping in your shoulders, perhaps. Let them soften. Find out what's going on with your neck. Maybe dip your chin just slightly. Now you may want to make sure you're right up against the wall. Take your soles of your feet together. We're coming down to butterfly at the wall, so let your knees fall out to either side or point towards either side. They're not falling anywhere. If this is uncomfortable on your feet, you can always grab a towel or a blanket if you haven't and just put it beneath your feet, or even have socks on. And for this shape, think about what you're bringing into your life this spring. One of the things Yin Yoga does very, very well, it forces us to go inside. And force is probably not the right choice of word, but we tend to be people who look outside of ourselves more often than we look inside of ourselves. And it's really important to go inside. And the long holds in Yin Yoga can help you do exactly that. So the theme for this practice, we're alternating, we are going inside, thinking about what we want to bring into our life, and then thinking about what we want to open to. And with that, go ahead and bring your knees together and then just let them fall over to one side. We're going to be on our mat for this last, almost next to last pose. And I'm going to have to figure out how to do this so you can see it. Okay, come over to the right side of your mat and go ahead and lay down. and move your body over towards the left side. So you're making the top half of a C here, and then take your left foot towards the left side, and then your right foot to bring it. And you may have to adjust yourself a little bit. I just did. You don't have to bring your right foot on top of your left. It's a slightly deeper variation. So do what's right for your body, see what feels comfortable for you, and then see what feels comfortable for you with your hands. You can clasp your elbows, or you can try clasp your elbows. You can do this behind your head. You can come into goalpost arms. You can stretch them all the way up. Whatever feels right in your body. And we're trying to get both shoulder blades and both glutes on the floor. And if you hadn't guessed it already, this is an opening up posture. It's an energizing posture. It's called Banana Asana. So you're trying basically to make the shape of a banana. And it's opening up your rib cage and your whole side body, which I alluded to in the beginning, that is part of your anatomy that works with the wood element. And the wood element is associated with spring. Mm-hmm. Again, let go of anywhere you're contracting, you're gripping. See if you can soften in the shape. And slowly, if you've taken that right foot on top of the left, take the right foot off, take your head back to center, begin to center your body, bring your arms down by your side, and take your feet out as wide as your mat, and just let the knees come in together. They don't even have to touch. Just give your low back and your hips a little reset before we move on to our second side. Couple breaths here. And then bring your knees to point up towards the ceiling. Take your body over to the left side of your mat. Take your top body over towards the right. Stretch out your right leg and then your left leg next to it, or bring the left leg on top of the right leg, which I like to do, and then readjust yourself. I find sometimes I'm too deep, sometimes I'm not deep enough. Find your banana shape. Now, most people absolutely positively love Banana Asana, even the first time they do it. I did not. I still find it a little bit awkward sometimes. And that is, that's yoga. Just because I love a particular asana doesn't mean you're going to love that particular asana, and vice versa. And that's okay. And sometimes the poses that we really don't like are the ones that we need the most. And finally, while you're in this shape, I suggest that you really feel into those ribs. Notice how when you inhale, they spread apart, and as you exhale, they come back together. And while I'm still talking to you, notice again anywhere in your body you need to soften in this shape. And perhaps you want to turn your head towards the right side too. And if you turned your head to look at the other side, bring it straight back up. Unwind your top leg. Unwind the bottom leg. Take the soles of your feet to your mat. Walk them as wide as your mat. And let them fall in together again. Let your arms go down by your side. Just a quick little reset before we move on to our last pose, Savasana. We're not going to be spending a lot of time in Savasana. I always suggest that you do spend more time in Savasana. Another thing I suggest, actually, perhaps I'll do a vlog about this at some point, bringing a little journal with you to your yoga practice, jotting down any thoughts, any emotions that arise, any tips that you heard that really resonate with you, any movement that you made that made a difference. And then go ahead and heel toe your feet together. Stretch one leg out and let the foot fall open, and then the other foot fall open, really taking up space. You can also take your hands above your head for pentacle. It's a different variation of Shavasana. I like this a lot. And I'm going to be keeping time for you, so just relax into this pose. Breathing in and out through your mouth. And I will let you know when it's time to come out. And while you're relaxing in Savasana, I would like to read you a short poem from a book of poems called Poems from the Heart of Yoga. I thought it was particularly appropriate for this practice. It's called First Leaf. The first of this year's leaves lets go and drifts, no breeze to bear it. With lazy grace, the leaf unwinds, it's growing, seasoned in a dancing downward spiral, lands in silence, making of itself a perfect offering to the altar of the earth. Begin to deepen your breathing. Slowly begin to invite movement into your fingers and your toes. Perhaps circling your wrists and your ankles. And on an inhale, take a big stretch up, stretching your feet away from your hands, which are now over your head. Perhaps turn your head from side to side. And draw one knee into your chest, and then the other. And slowly and easily, hopefully with your eyes still closed, fall over towards one side. Knees are bent, you're in a slightly fetal position. Your bottom arm is cradling your head. And take a few deep breaths here. Letting the benefits of this practice settle into your body. Setting yourself up to move from this practice into the rest of your day, bringing that sense of calm, of peace from your mat into your day. And slowly take your hands to the mat and prop yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Eyes still closed. Next inhale, bring the palms of your hands together in front of your heart. Thank yourself for giving yourself this time to practice. Think about what it is you need to open up to this spring, what it is you want to birth, to create. Thank you so much for joining me. Slightly bow your head over your hands. Begin to blink your eyes open. Take in your mat, the floor, and slowly raise your head to take in the rest of the room. I hope that the spring brings you everything you're hoping for. If, like me, you live in an area that is very cold, where the winter seems to go on and on and on, know that spring is coming. Know that spring always comes. That every year we have this wonderful season to create new things, to birth new things. I hope you use it wisely, and I hope that this practice made you feel open to new possibilities and ready to create. And never forget, every day, go inside and find that calm, that peace, that happiness that is waiting for you.